Hello. If you watch the Anthony Fantano channel, you would know that he covers music. He recently did a video on the Richmond, North of Richmond song, and a YouTuber known as Destiny replied to it. I personally like the song, but I'm interested in finding out both sides' opinions on it. In this video, I think I'll give my opinions on both sides and what they think. And I generally wanted to make this video because I made a video prior reviewing the song and discussing it. I think both these YouTubers are pretty prominent in what people think, so I think it'd be an interesting video to talk about.
He's drawing a geographical line here as well, between North and South, using Richmond, Virginia as that dividing line.
Wait, am I retarded? I'm sorry, I lived in Virginia 2 years. When I think of Richmond, north of Richmond, I just think of going to DC. Isn't that what I thought that was like what everybody up in Northern Virginia did anyway. Don't they all work in DC? Isn't that what north of Richmond is? Wait, what? Wait, what? Where did I live in? I lived in Woodbridge for, I think, like a year or two. I don't understand what does he think it's like... Hold on. I'm not going to make any assumptions.
Well, if you are taking the lyrics quite literally, then yes, you would be going north of Richmond to go to DC where all the politicians are. However, I think Fantano is alluding that the guy is referring to the Confederacy, which might be presumptuous on his part because the guy has a southern accent, and to which I agree we can't just jump to conclusions that he's just talking about the Confederacy, but I think Fantano is probably aloof to that, and he probably comes from a worldview where he's seeing, I guess, a right-leaning song talking about the the Virginia situation, and I think Destiny is right that you can't just jump to conclusions and just assume that he's talking or dog whistling. Essentially, he's just talking quite literally in that terms. If you take things quite literally, I can see why you would think, oh no, he's just talking about Richmond, north of Richmond. But I think Fantano comes from a different worldview, so I would probably give them both equal points on this because you can take it either way. If you come from a different worldview, I can see why you would think he's dog whistling, and I can see why you might just take it literally and be like, why are you looking into this more than needs to be?
Rich men north of Richmond are not the sole reason that you're struggling economically.
It's actually big business owners and capitalists and people like Jeff Bezos and Amazon.
It's the exploitative and solely profit-driven market system we currently live under, which is hurting everyone all over the country, regardless of what side of the Mason-Dixon line you're...
I'm kind of confused because Anthony Fantano said it wasn't just rich men, and then Destiny said, no, or sarcastically said it's the capitalists, but those are also rich men, so I don't know what point they're trying to make. All I can say is I definitely don't think personally it's rich people that are causing the problems. I think it's the politicians, if you look at who votes on everything.
Back when we were cooking, you'd always have a radio in the kitchen. I feel like this is just what all country music talks about, is loving God, loving your country, loving your Ford F-150, loving your Chevy Silverado, loving your wife, God, your country, your daughter, and hating the government and taxes. Like, I feel like that's all, Kenny Chesney. I feel like that's like all country music. Grab your guitar and play, let's go. Like, that's all like super standard stuff.
I don't necessarily agree because I think with bro country this can be the case, but with someone like Albert Lee, Danny Gadden, Johnny Cash, they generally had that country twang or definitely played guitar, but I think they talked about a little bit more sophisticated topics and more philosophical if you check out their music. Chet Atkins brought jazz into country, and he really experimented with different cool harmonies and whatnot. And he covered Mr. Sandman, which was I forget the name of the genre, but it was an African American song initially, and he covered it on his guitar. So I think it's a lot more nuanced than just, oh, I hate the government, I hate taxes to death, you know. So I don't really agree with that.
Here, well, God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bag of fudge rounds. Honestly, there's more than enough money in the U.S. budget to buy everyone enough fudge rounds to the point where we'll just all die and go into a diabetic coma, which comparatively would be money better spent than on another unnecessary invasion, a bunch of military bases that do essentially...
Watching this is kind of like watching three people kind of not address each other and talk to a brick wall. First of all, if we go to the actual song and he's like criticizing people for being overweight with the fudge rounds, like, that I thought was stupid, because it's extremely hard to get even welfare you have to apply, and it just doesn't happen. And with comparing it to, I guess, our defense budgets, it's also dumb, because America needs a strong military to preserve itself, you know. I don't understand the point.
Does he do like domestic policy analysis for every song? I want to see him do this for a rapper. The CIA sold crack to the like. Well, actually, if we actually go and we check back historically, was the CIA directly? Seriously, would he do this level of breakdown of like policy analysis for like a rapper making a song complaining about the system or some shit? Like,
I think the answer to that question is no, because I think everyone's biased, and I think when we don't agree with something in a lyric, we just dismiss the song as bad. However, I personally like the song, I like the melody. I don't necessarily agree with everything in the lyrics, but I think people need to learn to kind of separate that and to enjoy, you know, music without necessarily looking at the nitty-gritty and overthinking it. But yeah, that was the video. I don't think there was a winner of this debate, because I think, well, for one, I think Destiny is right in criticizing the constant talking points, like bringing up the military spending budget when the guy's criticizing fudge rounds. Like, that was dumb of him to like of Fantano just to bring up randomly. It just seems like going to one extreme. But on the other hand, I think that Destiny kind of like ignores maybe that worldview that someone can maybe have and listen to and notice all the, like, I guess, dog whistles on their end. I think it's like Fantano is a very liberal person, so he's probably going to listen to this song from a totally different worldview. And I think Destiny should like understand that this guy probably doesn't necessarily agree with the premise of it.